Mark Gervais is the Seattle Seahawks psychologist. He's been working with them for about 8 or 9 years. He helped the Seattle Seahawks win the Super Bowl a few years ago. And he was talking about one thing that I think it's interesting. It's very important if you're a parent and you have a kid that is playing tennis that is competing, um, even if you have kids that are not competing. And this is I think this is good for either juniors or just everybody. They were asking Mark about the way he was working with the players of the Seahawks. Um, mentally in order to help them deal with the competition, with the adversity, and how did they do to go from a team that pretty much was just an average team to become a Super Bowl champion. And there are several steps, several things that he did. Two of the things that really got my attention is he worked on two things that he worked on were focus, mindfulness, and contemplative mindfulness. A lot of people don't like that mindful word, but I'm thinking, you know what? If you have a guy that is working in the NFL, and if you didn't know, I think that NFL nowadays, the NFL forced all the teams to have a psychologist working with them. So if you have people that are psychologists working with some of the best athletes in the world, then maybe we shouldn't um, judge the term so easily. So what's focus mindfulness? One of the things that he worked with them, he said, focus mindfulness is when you're focusing on one thing only. When you're pretty much trying to put everything else on aside, and you're saying this is my goal, and I'm just paying attention to that. I'm just going for this is the one thing that I want. And this is something that sometimes is good to work with the kids, learning to pay attention towards that main goal. Why? Because as a kid, um, it's even easier to get distracted. So trying to create the habit of having that goal in mind and saying, hey, you know, don't swim away from this path. Don't. You're gonna have a lot of things coming at you that are going to try to distract you, but it's important that you learn to keep that concentration on that same thing. If we're talking about competition in tennis or even in any sport, or even for kids that don't do any sport, they're gonna find it. There is a lot of things that are gonna be at school with friends, family, with themselves, little things that are gonna get their attention when they try to focus on something. And just like it happens with us adults, it's easy to get distracted for those many things that you can have in your mind. And creating the habit of staying focused on one thing is something that is gonna help your kid not have those, you know, those transitions on the concentration when they're performing. See, like they all of a sudden sometimes, we go up and then we go down, and it's very common that happens in the kids. And it's you try to create that habit of staying concentrated, and it's going to be more difficult to the things that happen in his surrounding or her surrounding to get his or her attention, let's say. Now, contemplative mindfulness, that is when you are pretty much you sitting, or not sitting, but you're probably standing, and you're just looking at all the things that are going through your head, all the stuff that is going on that can distract you. It could be the rival, your opponent. It could be the crowd. It could be the weather. It could be your racket, your strings, probably. It could be some pain that you have in the moment. So you look at all those things. That it's pretty much the environment and the circumstances, everything around us can create stimuli in every single way. It can be our own self language. It can be someone in the crowd. It can be my racket. It can be that it's really hot. So it can be stimuli from almost any little thing that is gonna keep you to really focusing. And the idea is that it's contemplative because you want to see how you're reacting to each and everything. It's trying to pay attention to is there one thing that is really throwing me off? I'm probably pretty good playing if I have I have an injury and I'm getting out of it, and probably my leg is hurting a little bit, but you know what? It's okay. Um, Probably my strength, they probably, you know what? I just got it from the stringer, and the tension that they put on it was not the correct one, but I can probably handle that. I can even probably handle the heat, or the court that is not in very good condition. But there might be someone in the crowd that is either bugging me or someone watching me that gets me really nervous. So the idea is that you want to look at all those variables and say, how am I reacting to each and every one of them, and trying to pick or pinpoint the ones that say, this is what's really bugging me. And you'd want to try to have a list, so that way you're ready for the next match and say, okay, you have an idea of what the environment and the picture can be, and you're more ready to respond to it. So I think those two, the focused mindfulness and contemplative mindfulness, are things that can really help your kids. And another thing that I wanted to mention really quick is, one very important factor is also the culture around your kid. If you look at Nadal, if you look at Alcaraz, and you see several players in the tour that they have grown with a family, with the support from the family. They stay close to them. Um, the coach doesn't become just a coach. You can tell that they're really close to the coaches. They become like family. So that's a culture that your kid is growing up. The culture of support, the culture of love, the culture of thinking, you know what? If you didn't do well today, that's okay. We're still going to support you. We still love you. We just My dad one time, one time he told me, he said, you know that the only thing I'm asking you every time you set foot on the court is to give everything you got out there. As well as I know that you're giving everything you got, I'm gonna give you everything I can. I'm gonna do everything I can for you. I'm gonna do everything I can to pay your tournaments, your strings, your tennis, traveling, hotels, everything. So it was very clear for me at a very young age, that what I needed to do, and it's got to be very clear for your kid what he needs to do and what he's going to get in response. And it's important that the whole family has it has a very high impact. It's a big influence on the way your kid is going to perform and the way he's going to emotionally respond and handle the situations on and off the court. Give me a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.